Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy, Walden University. And I wanted to point out today that it is Indian Independence Day, so a happy Indian Independence Day on August 15, 1947. India got its independence from colonial rule, from British colonial rule. And so this was, of course, a day of celebration and day of happiness. Wanted to go over some of the original speeches, and since this is the 75th anniversary of Independence Day, there are some special sort of declarations that were made within the United States. So I want to go over some of that as well. So what I wanted to do in this section of the video is talk a little bit about Jawaharlal Nehru's speech, Independence Day speech, who was the first Prime Minister of the United States, and kind of the statements that he made. It's similar to, if you think about the address that George Washington gave before he left office, and the 3 warnings that he gave to the nation. So let's take a look at this speech. It's pretty interesting. So long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends, and when the soul of a nation, long suppressed, finds utterance. It is fitting that at this solemn moment we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people, and to the still larger cause of humanity. And this in and of itself is the first part of Jawaharlal Nehru's, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's speech. But it actually continues onward, and there's many more sections to it, and so I wanted to kind of delve a little bit into it. At the dawn of history, India started on her unending quest, and trackless centuries are filled with her striving and the grandeur of her success and her failures. Through good and ill fortune alike, she has never lost sight of that quest or forgotten the ideals which gave her strength. We end today a period of ill fortune, and India discovers herself again. The achievement we celebrate today is but a step, an opening of opportunity to the greater triumphs and achievements that await us. Are we brave enough and wise enough to grasp this opportunity and accept the challenge of the future? Freedom and power bring responsibility, and this is something that I think is extremely important and very much a point that he makes. The responsibility rests upon this assembly, a sovereign body representing the sovereign people of India. Before the birth of freedom, we have endured all the pains of labor, and our hearts are heavy with the memory of the sorrow. Some of those pains continue even now. Nevertheless, the past is over, and it is the future that beckons to us now. That future is not one of ease or resting, but of incessant striving, so that we may fulfill the pledges we have so often taken, and the one we shall take today. The service of India means the service of the millions, actually close to a billion, who suffer. It means the ending of poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality of opportunity. The ambition of the greatest man of our generation has been to wipe every tear from every eye. That may be beyond us, but as long as there are tears and suffering, so long our work will not be over. This is a very heartfelt and a very emotional sort of speech from Pandit Nehru. And so we have to labor and to work and work hard to give reality to our dreams. Those dreams are for India, but they are also for the world. For all the nations and peoples are too closely knit together today for any one of them to imagine that it can live apart. Peace has been said to be indivisible. So is freedom. So is prosperity now. And so also is disaster in this one world that can no longer be split into isolated fragments. To the people of India, whose representatives we are, we make an appeal to join us with faith and confidence in this great adventure. This is no time for petty and destructive criticism, no time for ill will or blaming others. We have to build the noble mansion of India where all her children may dwell. The appointed day has come. The day appointed by destiny, and India stands forth again after long slumber and struggle, awake, vital, free, and independent. The past clings on to us still in some measure, and we have to do much before we redeem the pledges we have so often taken. Yet the turning point is past, and history begins anew for us, the history which we shall live and act, and others will write about. It is a fateful moment for us in India, for all Asia, and for the world. A new star rises, the star of freedom in the east. A new hope comes into being. A vision, long cherished, materializes. May the star never set, and hope never be betrayed. We rejoice in that freedom, even though clouds surround us, and many of our people are sorrow-stricken, and difficult problems encompass us. But freedom brings responsibilities and burdens, and we have to face them in the spirit of a free and disciplined people. On this day, our first thoughts go to the architect of this freedom, the father of our nation, Gandhi, who, embodying the old spirit of India, held aloft the torch of freedom and lighted up the darkness that surrounded us. And so this was shortly after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, so which is why it's written in past tense. Whither do we go? Where do we go? And what shall we? What shall be our endeavor? To bring freedom and opportunity to the common man, to the peasants and workers of India, to fight and end poverty and ignorance and disease, to build up a prosperous, democratic, and progressive nation, and to create social, economic, and political institutions which will ensure justice and fullness of life to every man and woman. We have hard work ahead. There is no resting for any of us till we redeem our pledge in full, till we make all the people of India what destiny intended them to be. We are citizens of a great country, on the verge of bold advance, and we have to live up to that high standard. All of us, to whatever religion we may belong, are equally the children of India with equal rights, privileges, and obligations. We cannot encourage communalism or narrow-mindedness, for no nation can be great whose people are narrow in thought or in action. To the nations and peoples of the world we send greetings and pledge ourselves to cooperate with them in furthering peace, freedom, and democracy. And to India, our much-loved motherland, the ancient, the eternal, and the ever-new, we pay our respects, homage, and we bind ourselves afresh to her service. Jai Hind. So this was the speech that was delivered in August 15, 1947. And so to mark the 75th anniversary, the Maryland House of Delegates actually issued a sort of a plaque to commemorate this. And so oftentimes today, actually in a couple hours, the Prime Minister of India will go to the Red Fort in Delhi and actually hoist the Indian flag, demonstrating as a custom to mark the independence of India from colonial rule. And so oftentimes the anthem is, the national anthem is then recited, and so it starts like this: Janagana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindhu Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Banga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga. And so it keeps going, and so you list the regions, you list the, in fact, in the pledge, you also list the rivers, which is unique to I think the Indian anthem. So it's an interesting and it continues. There's more to it. So it's an interesting day, interesting ceremony, and there's a lot that has been accomplished since then. Of course, unfortunately, the partition was a bittersweet after effect. Well, independence, I should say, was bittersweet, and was unfortunately marred by partition shortly afterwards, because this was part of kind of the agreement, and so there was millions of people displaced, hundreds of thousands of people's lives lost in the process of partition. But nevertheless, the celebration and just the joy of independence is important to capture. Thank you for listening.